Hey guys, and welcome to the first half of the Karazhan review, where Amaz, we're gonna look through the first few cards, and we're gonna rate it basically, 1 to 5, 1 star to 5 stars on the playability and constructed. Okay, so we're just gonna do another video on it for arena viability and whatnot, but we're just gonna concentrate on, constructed play and, how good they are. So, let's start with the first card here. Enchanted Raven is a druid card, a 1 mana 2/2. It's a beast, and it's just like a vanilla card, right? 1 mana 2/2s, the first impression is like... Well, my first impression was that it's not insane, because when you have like obviously 1 mana 2/2s don't exist, right? Because they're deemed a bit too powerful. But even when the zombie child was in the system, it wasn't like super backbreaking, right? You can still like deal with it, and it's not like the extra ramp is out of place, right? We always face against druids with innervate and like Zoo with like 1 mana 3/2 flame imps, and rogues with their preparation, backstab and whatnot. So it's not like the acceleration is very new or something we can't deal with. For druids, obviously this card is just designed for the beast synergy, such as Mark of Yasharaj or the Wild Waker. I think that's it. Nobody plays the 7 mana 6/6. Like, that's a bad card, right? Like, that's not a thing. So, I guess like the only druid deck that really wants a 1 mana 2/2 is the aggro beast druid deck, right? Where you kind of want to curve out and kind of play like a zoo. And then your life tap, instead of life tapping as a hero power, you play Mark of Yasharaj, and that's kind of like your life tap. And then you also get to play cards like Savage Roar, so that you can kill your opponent faster. Overall, I still think that this card is not that strong. You compare it to like other 1-drops that are broken right now, right? What's that called? Tunnel Trog, Matter Worm. Aren't those just like better, anyways? And like Tempo Mages use like spells to finish off your opponent, right? But then it's like Matter Worm is just better. And Tunnel Trog is just like, oh, I play overload cards, and it's not just a 1/3. It's like a 2/3 or 3/3, and it even has potential to grow more. So no, I don't think this card is that good. So I'm gonna give it like a 2 out of 5. I think it's a little bit too overhyped, and I think the only druid deck that plays this is gonna be the aggro druid deck, and not control anything. All right, next card we have the Babbling Brook. It is a 1 mana 1/1 mage card. Battlecry, add a random mage spell to your hand. Oh god. So it's like it's like Blizzard looked at all the mage archetypes and go like, oh, I guess Casino Mage really needed an extra card. So here you go, Babbling Book. Obviously there's a lot of worst case situations where you get like a shatter or something bad. But like mage spells are designed to be good, right? All mage spells are designed to be good. And there is no such thing as a 1 mana card that draws a card that can be bad. You get what I mean? Like when Hearthstone was first released, the 2 mana 2/2 rogue card, everybody thought that card was like not too good. But it's a 2 mana draw card, right? I don't think like if 2 mana draw a card is that good, right? Like Novice Engineer, it was nerfed because it was deemed too good as a 1/2. And what's it called? There's like, oh my god, what's the card called? The Museum Curator for Priest draws a card. Thalnos obviously draws a card and stuff like that. This is a 1 mana card that draws a card. Alright? You don't get to choose what you get. Like, there's no discover mechanic to it, but it's a mage spell. So like, I don't know. It just feels really good. It just feels really, really good. And you can play it turn 1. To get like that kind of... Just do something in turn 1 kind of Tempo Mage, right? I mean, Tempo Mage only has Matter Worm right now for turn 1. I feel like playing Babbling Book in turn 1 is not that bad. It's also a battle cry, right? So like, in the case of like Huckster, when you top deck a Huckster, you have to wait a turn before you get to use the card. But with Babbling Book, you can just use the card immediately too. This is just like a super insane Novice Engineer. So I think this is a very good card. I would say this is a 4 out of 5. I think that Temple Mages will play this card. Moving right along. We have Malkazar's Imp. It's a Warlock 1 mana 1/3. Whenever you discard a card, you draw a card. So this doesn't give you card advantage. This basically just improves your discard cards. But they don't really necessarily improve it kind of thing. So for example, like Succubus, you're playing a 2 mana 4/3, right? And you get to cycle a card. Doomguard, you get to cycle 2 cards. But you don't actually get to draw the cards if you don't discard a card. So if you have like, if you play Doomguard with no cards in your hand, and you have Malkazar's Imp, it's not like you draw 2 extra cards or something like that. So the upside, the text of this is not that good compared to like, you know, the other 1-drops like Matter Worm and Tunnel Shrug and whatnot. But it's still a 1/3. I feel like we have to look at the other card that was just released before we judge this one. There's another card that helps the discard mechanic too. But for this card just by itself, I don't think it's that good. Because it's just a 1/3, right? I mean, 1/3s are good if they have an upside, right? I mean, it's funny because Priest has been starting to cut like Northshire Cleric because it's deemed not good enough. So, yeah, I feel like that this card in just a nutshell is not that good. I would actually just give this like a 1 out of 5. I don't think any Warlock decks would play this. And it will have to be a new archetype, which is the discard Warlock deck. So, I don't think it fits in any deck right now. And I don't really even think that the discard Warlock deck is better than Handlock, or Reno Lock, or Mali Lock, or Zoo Lock, right? I just think that those are just like so refined. So I don't think this is good. Well, before we move on to the other Warlock discard card, we have the Kindly Grandmother. 2 mana 1/1. Hunter only card as a beast. When it dies, it summons a big bad wolf. A 3/2, which is also a beast. The first thing that this reminds me of is obviously Haunted Creeper. Haunted Creeper is like such a good card, right? When Haunted Creeper was in play, it was like the most insane card because it's so sticky and it just goes in face repetitively for damage. This one kind of reminds me of that, and both parts being a beast is actually pretty relevant because, you know, just being a beast in Hunter means that Kill Command is always going to be activated. But the more interesting part is the Houndmaster, right? Partly why Timberwolf is such a good card is because both Death Rattle parts can be Houndmastered. So so it always kind of like the threat of Houndmaster will make your opponent play a little bit more awkward, I guess. Like they have to trade into your 1/1s, otherwise you just pump it up. So I think this card is really good. And my first impression would be that this is like a 4 out of 5. Because this is just going to stick around. And it's not like Hunters have a lot of good 2-drops right now, right? Because there's no Mad Scientist anymore. The only 2-drop right now is like King's Elec. Like Blazuka isn't even a card. And Traps, I don't think you even want to play Traps right now as a Hunter. So I think the mid-range Hunter would like a Kindly Grandmother. Just to put in 1 damage. It's like you could just trade this yourself and get a 3/2. Or you can just like keep on poking 1 damage to the face and your opponent has to clear both boards for them to remove 1 damage. Like you would play a 2 mana card that says deal 1 damage to your opponent every turn. Like that's just a good investment, right? So I think this is a good card. Oh god. I don't know why they printed this card. Pompous Thespian, 2 mana 3/2 taunt. It feels like such a waste of design space. Because I don't see this in any constructed decks. I give this a 0 out of 5. Because I don't think any constructed decks would want to play this. There's always a better 2-drop. So I think this is strictly an arena card. Yeah, nobody's going to play this in constructed. Morrow is a 3 mana 1/1 legendary card. It's a 1/1 stealth. And at the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 steward. This just seems really, really slow. Because the turn you play it, it's a 3 mana 1/1 that summons a 1/1, right? That's so bad. That's like really, really bad, right? Like every other card just like outvalues this card. When you play a 3 mana card, you expect something like a 3/3 stats with an upside, or you want a 3/4, a 4/3, or something with an insane like Elder Peacekeeper would be like a 3-drop or whatnot. Like for Morrow to actually get value, you need to activate him like 3 times. So the first activation comes when you play it, and then this needs to live 2 more times. In a world of swipes and ravaging ghouls and fan of knives, that's not gonna happen. I think this is a very, very trashy legendary. Like, just really, really bad. I feel like if this was 2 mana, then people would still have to think about whether they want to play this. And when you think about, like, if this is 2 mana and you still wouldn't play it, then that's a problem, right? I would rate this as 0 out of 5. I'm pretty confident that this is a bad card. What could it actually work with? Like, the Steward for the Paladin? Maybe give them Divine Shields or something? But, like, man, it's so bad. Okay, I don't want to look at that card anymore. Protect the King is a 3 mana warrior card. For each enemy minion, summon a 1/1 Pawn of Taunt. So this is Unleash the Pawns, I guess. That doesn't have charge. So, okay, so my first impression is that this is really bad, because Unleash the Hounds has charge, right? And charge is a much better text than taunt. That's just what it is, because when you play a reactive card like this is by definition a reactive card, right? Because when your opponent has no board, this is useless, and when your opponent has a board, this needs to kind of win you the game. Like, I guess you play this with Bolster or something, and then, yay, you get a lot of value, right? Or you play this with something that has, like, what's it called? You play this as, like, with, like, Coldmaster or something, or, like, another card that actually activates off minions dying, right? Like, maybe even Fran Berserker. Another way to look at this card might be a bad Frost Nova, because for every enemy minion, you summon a taunt, right? So technically, they can't really get past your stuff. And you also deal 1 damage to everything. So if that works out, then that's pretty good, because it's a Frost Nova plus an Arcane Explosion. But what kind of warrior deck wants this? You know? I feel like nobody kind of wants this. I just don't see a bolster deck happening either. There will be some games where this card can be like, oh, I beat Zoo, right? I just protect the king, and then bolster, and then Zoo just can't get through. But even then, they could get through. They have, like, abusive, and, like, they can just get through stuff. I'm just gonna give this a 1 out of 5, just because it has a little bit more potential than the other cards that were revealed. I don't think I'm missing anything, right? Hobgoblin? It doesn't work with Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin is not in standard. OTK Warrior? I guess I can see this as in an OTK Warrior deck, because it is kind of like a Frost Nova. But at the same time, why wouldn't you just run Revenge or Whirlwind? You get what I mean? Because you're probably gonna run Whirlwinds anyway in a OTK Warrior. But why not just run 2 Revenges over the Protector King? I don't see this one. Zubot! 3 mana 3/3, give a random friendly beast, Murloc, and... Wait, beast, dragon, and Murloc +1/+1. Now this is a very, very cute card, because the other synergy with this is Curator, right? This could be really good, because by itself, it's already better than a Shattered Sun Cleric, right? And back in vanilla, back in way then, where there were no expansions, Shattered Sun Cleric was a 3 mana 3/3 that gave a friendly minion +1/+1, and it was themed one of the best cards ever, because it was effectively a 3 mana 4/4, right? Zubot can actually be better than that, because it gives a beast, dragon, and Murloc +1/+1. So if you can manage this correctly, this can be a 6/6. But then at the same time, how often are you going to get a Murloc, dragon, and beast at turn 3? No, you're not. So you're going to play this a little bit later on. So it's like a 3 mana 6/6 at like the ceiling level at like turn 6-ish kind of thing. And if you think about it that way, then it's not that good. decks that have Beast, Dragon, and Murloc are pretty rare. Because you have to go like, okay, so the only dragon you want to play is Azdrake, and the only legitimate Murloc you want to play is Finley, right? So then, what's a beast? Kodo, I guess? Huge toad? No. All the other beasts are kind of like class specific. So no, I don't really, yeah, I guess I don't think this is going to be too good. Yeah. The Curator is a better card. This card, I don't think it's good. I'm gonna just give this a 1 out of 5 as well. There's just not enough good Beasts or Murlocs right now for other classes to use. I think Azdrake is insanely good. But there's no like an Azdrake quality Beast or Azdrake quality Murloc for everybody. So yeah, let's just give this a 1 out of 5. So the next card is the Silverware Golem in Warlock. It's a 3-mana 3/3. So pretty vanilla card. But it has, if you discard this minion, summon it. So, this card might actually make the discard deck work. Like, this is actually way better than the Malchezaar's Imp, right? Because Malchezaar's Imp is just like, it doesn't really gain you anything. This gains you something. Imagine a turn where you play Succubus in turn 2, and then you discard Silverware Golem. So it's kind of like a 4/3 that summons a 3/3. In turn 2. That's pretty disgusting. And then you actually have a lot of discard outlets right now, right? Warlocks have Fist of Jaraxxus. Oh, no, that's a reward. Never mind. We have Soulfire, Dark Bargain, Succubus, and Doomguard. Okay, I guess technically Deathwing is a card. But not really. But then we have the rewards, right? The rewards are, at the moment, Fist of Jaraxxus and Silverware Golem. So, like, the problem with the discard Warlock theme is that there isn't enough reward cards to pay you off. So Silverware Golem is definitely the card. Oh yeah, and of course there's the Tiny Knight of Evil, which is kind of like a little reward. Not good enough, but it's like a reward card. And also there's the Librarian, which is the discard outlet again, right? So like this card might actually create a discard zoo. So I actually see a little promise in this card, just because the start potential can be so high, right? And of course, when you have 2 in this deck, and you're obviously gonna play Doomguard. There's no way you don't play Doomguard with this card, right? Doomguard might actually summon you 2 3/3s. Like, I think it's actually pretty normal to have like Doomguard, Silverware at turn 5, because you're playing your cards anyways, right? So I would rate this card pretty high. I'd say this is like 3 out of 5. I feel like there is potential for this card. I don't think it's like insane or anything, but in the right discard outlet deck, if it's built correctly, I think it's pretty insane. So yeah, no, actually I'd say like, I wouldn't say 4 out of 5 because you can't play this in every single Warlock deck, right? But and the discard Warlock deck is really good. So just think of it as like 4 in the discard Warlock deck and 3 in general, I guess, kind of thing. Next up, we have Barnes. 4-mana 3/4 Battlecry. Summon a 1/1 copy of a random minion in your deck. I think this is my favorite card released so far. Because, I mean, first of all, look at his face. He's like so excited. It's like actually just me. But, like, the stats actually work out pretty well, right? It's a 4-mana 3/4, the summon's a 1/1. So it's kind of like 4/5. And the card that you summon could be really good. Because obviously, when you play Barnes, you're gonna make a deck where you want to abuse the power really, really good, right? So stuff like Death Rattle cards, or end of turn cards. So like Sylvanas, Cairn, Emperor, Ragnaros, Ysera, stuff like that. And that's just insane. Like, imagine if Barnes says, Battlecry, draw a dream card. Like, you would freaking play that card in a heartbeat, right? Plus, because it actually summons a copy of the minion in your deck, it actually doesn't pull it out, so you can actually play it later. So I think this card is actually really good. Pretty excited for this, but the problem with this card, at the end of the day, with all of these cards, is that you have to play a control deck. And we know that in Hearthstone, control decks are just not that good. Because minions in this game do repetitive damage, and you can choose what you attack and everything. like compared to other card games. So like the only downside of playing this deck is that you have to play a control deck, I think. So yeah, and partly why control decks are banned in Hearthstone is because the AoE effects are really bad, right? We don't have anything like a like Brawl is like the only AoE effect that's good, because the other AoE effects are just too expensive or too slow or too or too like conditional. Like for example, what's that called? The Enter the Coliseum, like super conditional. Like we don't want that. So yeah, I think Bards is really insane because if you build your deck right, you're always gonna get some value no matter what. Like imagine if you put this in like a rogue deck, and then you have like what's that called? Like a arena rogue deck with like N'Zoth, so that you can just pull out like Tomb Pillager. A 1/1 Tomb Pillager is completely fine. You get a coin, right? This is like a third Tomb Pillager. You pull out a Huckster, that's insane. Like this has a lot of potential to be good. So I would say this is a 4 out of 5. And what is preventing this from being a 5 out of 5 is because you had to play a control deck to play this. But otherwise, very, very exciting card. I like this.